What's up and welcome to my guitar channel. Say you've got a friend that's just started playing guitar. They keep going down all these different rabbit holes thinking that they're onto new information that's going to unlock their playing and make them fast track their learning. They've stumbled across the idea of hand stretching and think that this is a worthwhile area of intense focus. What advice would you give them? Would you tell them to not worry about that? It'll come, just focus on the basics, make sure that they're getting the fundamentals right? Or would you tell them that yes, this is really going to help you make things easier in the future? Or would you say something else entirely? Think about this for a minute, because usually the best way to educate yourself about something is when a question's posed to you and you have to think about how you would explain it. Once you've figured out how you would explain it, then you go and practice in that way and you notice that your playing improves very quickly. As you may have guessed, there is no single right answer to this question, but in this video, I hope to show you a way to at least approach answering that question as well as giving you a bunch of exercises to use. If you want to skip straight to the exercise and you don't care what I have to say, the timestamp is below. Stretching to me is an interesting topic because it's one of the very few things that actually is limited by our physicality. Someone with short stubby fingers will really struggle to get the same stretch that someone with these alien proby things will be able to get easily all day, every day. And it's not that when you've got these stubby little fingers that you shouldn't do it or you should give up or you can't do it because of whatever reason. It's just you need to be more intelligent about how you approach the same situation. Just remember, on average, the distance between your thumb and pinky can vary up to 5 inches per person. I'm about 6 foot tall or 180 centimeters. I've got about a 21 centimeter reach between these 2 points. My girlfriend is about 5 foot and she has an 18 centimeter reach between these 2 points. Our physicality really dictates what we can actually do. As for how I see stretching, I think that it's really important. It's really good to be able to stretch because it just gives you more freedom when you're playing. And one thing about stretching is you do need the strength. So maybe you can stretch 9 frets or something, but if you don't have the actual physical dexterity to use it, then it becomes unusable, which there's no point in practicing that technique. You're better off going for a shorter distance and being able to play it fluidly and musically. Now, because of the actual physical limitations that come into stretching, I think it's very important that you don't solely focus on stretching. You do it as a part of a supplementation, which is what the exercises will be later. So instead of going, okay, I need to do this, it's you spend 5 minutes a day just kind of playing around with the idea of stretching. And over the course of 6 or 12 months or 2 years, you get an extra few frets. Say, for example, you're trying to get an extra centimeter of reach inside of a month. Sure, that's a noble goal and everything, but you are likely to injure yourself when you do that. If you are lucky and you don't injure yourself, you're going to notice that your hand is extremely tired most of that month and you forego pretty much all other practice. You're better off doing your normal practice and just having a few moments where you stretch out and you relax the muscles. You get them used to the idea that they are going to do that. Treat this the same as you would exercise, or if you were stretching, trying to touch your toes, anything like that. It takes time. You force it, something breaks. So I've already kind of mentioned this, but I just feel like it's worthwhile going over once more. The advantage of stretching is not being able to do some ridiculous stretch that no one else can do. It's being free to access music. Now, if you can't achieve a stretch, find a different way to do it. That's something we'll go over later on in the exercises, but a great example of that is tapping. If you can only stretch 3 frets and you need to do something where you're stretching to the 5th, just start tapping. You'll be fine. Figure out a way to make it work with your picking and you will get past it. You, all of a sudden, if you're tapping, you've literally got unlimited range, or well, at least this much range, before it's not going to work. But of course our guitars are only yay long, so it doesn't matter. If you do stretch, if you look at this as a long-term thing and you spend a few minutes a day or a day per week or something, over time you will get a much bigger stretch than you know and it will be usable. So with all that in mind, let's get into the actual exercises. Alright, so the good thing about these stretches is they're very simple patterns to follow. Ideally, what you want to do is have your fingers resting over 4 different frets. Right, so instead of having to jump these huge distances to get where you're going when you're playing whatever you're playing, all you need to do is press down. If you're there already, then you've got access to every single note. You may need to stretch up one or down one. So let's say you're playing the major scale here. We're either stretching with our pinky like this, stretch, stretch, or we're stretching with our index finger like this, stretch, stretch. Okay, That way we're staying in the same spot. We have to move as little as possible with these fingers, and in time that makes us go as fast as we can. We're going to base everything off that idea, and we're going to hold it in this diagonal shape with the tab below, but it's just 12th on the A, 13 on the D, 14 on the G, and 15 on the B. Right, now we can either play this as a chord if we don't want to work on our picking, or we play it picked, alternate picked for more challenge. Then we swap the middle fingers around, so it becomes 12, 14, 13, 15. And then we swap the outside fingers around, 15, 14, 13, 12. And then we swap the inside fingers around, 15, 13, 14, 12. That's the first thing that we do, then we move down a semitone. Move down a semitone. Move down a semitone. Right, and you see we go all the way down until we can't do it anymore. So until we're down here. That should be well within the possibility for everyone to do. What we do next is we offset this index finger down a note. So instead of being on the 12th fret here, we go onto the 11th fret. Then down a fret. Right, you're starting to get the idea here. Next, we move the pinky up a fret. Now we need to put space between these fingers. Naturally, as we get lower and lower, it gets more and more difficult because the fret spacing itself gets more and more distant. You know, don't force it. If you can't do this one here, like I'm pretty terrible at, move it back. Approach it the next day. Right, like I'd say that was a pretty decent stretch for me. So the next one we do is pretty simple. We offset with 2 spaces. Let's move the ring finger down. Then we move the middle finger down. We've done everything. And then the final version is 1 fret between every single note. Once again, we just keep moving those all the way down until we can't do the stretch anymore. Let's see how far down I can go with this one. All right, so that's what, the 5th to the 11th fret. That was getting pretty ugly. I've got my shoulder pretty close. I'm hunched right over the guitar to get that stretch. Let's see if I can do 3 to 9. Maybe one day in the future, not today. But that's pretty much it. You just want to keep getting those nice and dexterous. If you want to make this more challenging again, you can put more of a vertical stretch in there. So instead of the index finger being on the 12th fret of the A, put on the 12th fret of the E, keep everything else the same. But of course I put the 15th fret of the E there with the pinky, so it's just the A is moved to the E. Equally, you can do E, D, G, E. Or if you really want to spice things up, you do E, A, B, E. That was pretty horrible, but you get the idea. Play around with it. Push things slowly. As you get more comfortable, move it down more and more and more frets. Set your goal to something that's reasonable and never push too hard, otherwise you might break something. So onto impossible stretches. Let's say someone's stretching from the 1st to the 12th fret. Now I can't do that stretch. There's no way in the world that I ever will be able to, and I don't care to. What I would do, for the world's best interval of course, but there we go, I'm achieving the sound that I want to achieve, and I'm not having to break my hand to do it. Equally, if I wanted to, I could probably end up stretching from the 1st to the 7th fret, but it's pretty rough because my hands aren't that big. Or I'm hybrid picking there, getting the same notes, everything's right, technically, but all I'm doing is actually making it possible for my physicality to do it. There's no desperate need to do these stretches, right? It's kind of surprising when you see how different guitarists approach the same or similar passages, and you see someone do it in a way that's really complicated, and then you see someone do it in a way that is really easy. So there's a riff from a song called Sleepwalker by Megadeth. I always thought that this was... How easy is that to do, right? They're literally, in my opinion, making it harder by using the stretching option when they could have just made it easier by tapping. And that's all it is you've got to make it work for you. Make sure that you can do the musical side of things in a way that you want to do the musical side of things. All right, well, that's it for me this week. Thank you so much for watching. If you've got any questions, please leave them below. Please give it a like if you liked it. Please subscribe as well if you haven't already. And I look forward to seeing you next week for more stuff about music. Bye.